Imagine this. A king whose wisdom was so unmatched it was said to be a divine gift straight from the throne of God. A ruler so revered that sovereigns from distant kingdoms would traverse deserts and cross seas just to sit in his court and listen. This is Solomon, son of David, the golden king of Israel. But beneath the glittering robes, behind the marble columns and sacred incense, lies a hidden tale rarely echoed from pulpits or preached in Sunday schools. A tale not confined to the familiar pages of Scripture, but whispered in the forgotten corners of apocryphal texts and ancient scrolls, a tale of the day heaven's fiercest warrior, the Archangel Michael, descended into a realm of darkness. Let that settle in your soul for a moment. Solomon, the wisest man to walk the earth, found himself enmeshed in a power so profound and perilous that even the angel who defied Satan in the heavens had to step in. Michael, God's undefeated warrior, drawn into a battle not against rebellious nations, but against the very entities Solomon once subdued, 72 demons, each bearing a name, a purpose, and a dark domain. What kind of wisdom entangles itself with demons? And why would God permit such a paradox to unfold as we journey deeper? We must ask, how much of Solomon's story have we truly understood? Could the scriptures be offering only a surface reflection while the deeper mysteries lie intentionally veiled? And more hauntingly, if the seal of Solomon truly granted him dominion over demons, what kind of responsibility did that entail? What does that say about the cost of wisdom and the fine line between divine knowledge and forbidden power? Stick with me, because by the end of this journey, your understanding of Solomon and of Michael may never be the same again. The Golden King beneath the surface. Say the name Solomon, and most people envision a sage king on a majestic throne dispensing judgments with calm clarity and divine discernment. Perhaps you remember the story of the 2 women and the 1 infant, the moment Solomon resolved an impossible dispute with a single line, revealing the true mother and stunning the world. That's the image the Bible paints on its surface, the wise king whose name traveled across borders, whose intellect drew even the Queen of Sheba to his courts with tribute and awe. But here's the truth most people never consider. Solomon's life wasn't just gold and glory. It was complexity. Layered, a divine gift wrapped in very human frailty. Strip away the crown, the royal robes, and the marble floors, and we find not just a wise ruler, but a man torn between heaven's light and earth's shadows. He was the son of David, the giant slayer, the man after God's own heart. That lineage alone carried a monumental burden. Imagine growing up under the legacy of a warrior king beloved by God himself. The pressure to measure up must have been immense. Yet when Solomon took the throne, he began his reign not with arrogance but humility. Scripture tells us he didn't ask for riches or vengeance, he asked for wisdom. And God, moved by such a rare and noble request, granted him not only wisdom but everything he didn't ask for: wealth, peace, prosperity. His kingdom flourished beyond imagination. Nations came not to conquer, but to learn from him. The world had never seen such radiance from one throne. But here lies the danger in every rise. The higher the light shines, the darker the shadows that gather around it. Solomon's wisdom, as some ancient texts suggest, went beyond understanding riddles and settling disputes. According to the mysterious text known as the Testament of Solomon, his insight reached into realms most would never dare touch. The story says he was given a ring engraved with God's own seal. A ring that didn't just symbolize authority, it wielded it. Not over men, but over spirits, over demons. Imagine that. A man with the power to summon, question, and command demonic forces. It challenges every perception we've ever had of biblical leadership. What would that kind of power do to someone, even someone wise? Would you see it as a holy tool or a dangerous temptation? According to the legend, Solomon used this ring to compel 72 named demons, each with their own specialty, their own sin, their own domain, to labor under his command. And here's the twist: these weren't just monstrous spirits of chaos. They were reflections of human weakness. Demons of rage, of lust, of despair, of envy, each one echoing a struggle we still wrestle with today. Could it be that Solomon didn't just command them, but saw himself in them? Let's pull back the curtain on the most sacred structure in Israel, because its foundation may not be as holy as we imagined. Demons beneath the temple. Picture the Temple of Solomon, the most sacred structure in all of Israel. Its white stones shimmer under the sun. Incense wafts through the air and prayers echo against its golden walls. To the worshippers gathered outside, it is a place where heaven meets earth. But hidden beneath its majestic beauty lies a chilling secret, one whispered through the ages in forgotten writings. The temple was not built by human hands alone. According to ancient traditions, Solomon didn't rely solely on craftsmen to raise this holy monument. He summoned the 72 demons, dark, intelligent, cunning spirits, and bound them to do the labor. With the power of his divine ring, he commanded them to dig foundations, cut stone, carve wood, and even inlay precious gems. The very house of Yahweh, the sanctuary of the Most High, built by hands not just human, but diabolical. It sounds scandalous, almost blasphemous. And yet it reflects a profound truth: even evil, when bound by divine authority, can be used to fulfill God's greater purpose. But these spirits didn't serve willingly. They weren't repentant. They were bound, chained, coerced by the holy seal on Solomon's ring. And beneath every stone they placed was a curse muttered under their breath. They hated him. They loathed his control. They watched. They waited. Because here's the terrifying reality: they were never tamed. They were only temporarily restrained. Each demon represented something sinister. One stirred rage, another seduced with lust, another whispered despair into the minds of kings. Their roles weren't random. They mirrored the temptations that still plague humanity today. And in their hatred, they studied Solomon. They learned his habits. They spotted his vulnerabilities. They knew one day the seal would falter. One day the king's heart would drift. The ring was their cage, and Solomon's faithfulness was the lock. But even locks wear down with time. The ring begins to dim. As Solomon's kingdom reached new heights of glory, his heart began to descend. It didn't happen overnight. That's how temptation works: slow, subtle, seductive. The Bible says he loved many foreign women, and with them came strange gods, foreign altars, and forbidden rituals. At first it may have looked harmless. A small shrine here, a political compromise there, just one offering to keep a queen happy. But each step pulled him further from the God who gave him everything. With every compromise, the divine fire in the ring dimmed. What was once a blazing symbol of heavenly authority became a flicker, and the demons, those 72 imprisoned spirits, felt it. Like prisoners sensing the crumbling walls of their cell, they stirred. They whispered. They laughed. The great king, once clothed in wisdom, was now distracted by pleasure, blinded by pride, and worn down by idolatry. Legend says that one night the ring was lost. Some texts say it slipped from his hand. Others claim it was stolen or discarded in a moment of weakness. However it happened, the result was the same: the seal was broken. The bond snapped, the prison doors flung open, and the 72 rose. Imagine it. The very spirits who once carried stones for the temple now slithering through the palace corridors. One spread smoke and stench across the city, choking the air. Another sowed confusion among the guards, turning friend against friend. Others whispered fear into the hearts of Israel's people, convincing them that their king had lost God's favor. And perhaps he had. Solomon, the wisest man alive, stood with an empty hand and a heavy heart. The ring was gone, the power was lost, and the voices he once silenced now roared all around him. Michael descends from heaven. The cries of a shaken kingdom rose into the heavens. The once peaceful city of Jerusalem trembled not from war but from something far older and more terrifying. The temple built with divine instruction was now overshadowed by the very demons who helped raise it. Their laughter echoed through the streets, shadows danced along palace walls, and Solomon the Golden King sat slumped on his throne, powerless. But heaven did not remain silent. When darkness threatens God's design, he sends light. And in this story, that light came in the form of a warrior, not just any angel, but the mightiest of them all, the Archangel Michael. His very name is a challenge to all who exalt themselves. Who is like God? A question that thundered through the heavens the day Lucifer rebelled, and one that now echoed across Jerusalem as the 72 demons declared themselves free. The legends say Michael's descent tore through the sky like fire, a light brighter than lightning, unwavering and furious. Those who saw it thought the end of days had arrived. But it wasn't the end, it was divine intervention. Michael, clad in armor glowing like molten gold, his wings unfurled in terrible majesty, landed in the heart of the city. In his hand a sword not of steel or iron, but of living flame. A blade forged not by man, but by God's will. A weapon that didn't just cut flesh, but spirit. The 72 shrieked. They remembered that sword. They remembered the last time it was raised, when Lucifer was cast down like lightning. And now Michael raised it again. The ground shook as he declared, "By the command of the Most High, I stand against you." The demons hissed, snarled, twisted into their true forms, monsters of rage, shadow, beauty, and horror. Solomon, watching from his broken throne, felt a tear trace down his cheek. For the first time in a long time, clarity pierced his heart. He whispered through trembling lips, "Broken, but not abandoned." And then the battle began, a war not of flesh but spirit. The demons came like a flood. One surged forth, a lion-bodied, vulture-winged monstrosity whose roar split the night. Michael answered with a stroke of fire, cleaving it in two. But for every spirit that fell, 10 more took its place. Some came veiled in beauty, others in madness, some with voices like thunder and others like lullabies. But Michael did not flinch. He was more than a warrior, he was a declaration: God still reigns. Every clash was more than violence, it was spiritual warfare made visible. One demon tried to veil Michael in illusion, but his light shattered it. Another tried to drown him in noise, but Michael's voice silenced confusion. One coiled like shadow, but the fire of God could not be smothered. These were not just monsters. They were sins given form: lust, greed, envy, despair. As Michael struck them down, it was as if heaven itself declared, "These shall not reign over my people." The battle raged through the city. The people of Jerusalem hid in silence, listening to sounds that no earthly army could produce. The shrieks, the clash, the trembling earth, it was like creation itself recoiling. And yet amid the chaos, Michael stood unmoved, but even he was one against many. The 72 pressed in with fury. Their strength was not in brute force, but in cunning, in temptation, in corruption. And so the archangel lifted his voice to heaven. Then came the answer. A sound like rushing wind swept the city. The heavens opened, and from beyond the stars came the armies of God. Angelic hosts, shining like fire, bearing weapons of light, descended in rank after rank. From windows and rooftops, the people beheld a sky ablaze with divine warriors. The demons wailed. Their chains had been broken by man, but they could not escape the will of God. Michael, radiant in the center of it all, raised his sword high and declared, "By the Lord Almighty, you are bound." And one by one, the 72 were overwhelmed. Some were hurled into rivers and sealed in darkness. Others were bound in pits guarded by angels until the day of judgment. The skies cleared, the earth calmed, the city fell silent, a king humbled. When the last demon's cry faded into the void and the battle was done, a holy silence settled over Jerusalem. The people, trembling, tear-streaked, awestruck, emerged from their homes and temples, gazing at a city both saved and shaken. But in the palace, one man remained, still slumped on a throne that no longer felt like a seat of power, but a reminder of failure. Solomon. The king who once held the ring of divine authority now stared at his empty hand. The weight of his choices, once so subtle, now crashed upon him like waves. His wisdom had not shielded him. His riches had not saved him. Even the temple he built stood only because heaven itself had intervened. And then came Michael, radiant, terrible, unmistakably divine. The archangel, still aflame with the glory of heaven, approached the broken king. His eyes, burning with righteous fire, softened not in compromise but in truth. His voice, like the sound of distant thunder, spoke not condemnation but clarity. Solomon, wisdom is nothing without obedience. Your crown cannot protect you, your ring cannot save you, only faithfulness to the Most High keeps you safe. The word struck deeper than any sword. Solomon's heart broke not from fear but from realization. He had been entrusted with heaven's favor, and he traded it for fleeting pleasures. And yet God had not abandoned him. In his lowest moment, divine mercy had arrived not to destroy but to restore. Michael raised his wings and rose in a blaze of light. The sky swallowed him and the city fell still. But the message remained. One king's failure, one heavenly intervention, and a lesson carved into the heart of Israel forever. More than a legend, what began as an obscure legend has now unfolded as something far more profound. This tale of Solomon and the 72 demons of a ring of fall, a battle, and an archangel is not merely a story of the past. It's a mirror, a warning, a hope. Think about it. Solomon, the man endowed with divine wisdom, the king whose reign gleamed with unmatched splendor, he still fell. Not because of an army, not because of a rival, but because of compromise. His downfall came not from the demons outside him, but the ones he allowed to take root within. And isn't that the real message? The greatest threats to our spiritual lives don't always come in the form of external attacks. Sometimes they come as whispers of pride, subtle temptations, and small, repeated steps away from God's will. That's what weakened the ring. That's what emboldened the 72, and that's what opened the door for chaos to enter the heart of a nation. But even in that darkness, God moved. Michael didn't arrive because Solomon deserved it. He arrived because mercy always fights for restoration. His sword wasn't just a weapon, it was a declaration that no darkness is beyond redemption when God steps in. And that's the heart of this legend. So here's the question: what are the 72 demons in your life? Not literal spirits, perhaps, but patterns, burdens, sins, or doubts that seem to circle endlessly. Whispering that you've gone too far, failed too deeply, fallen too low. This story tells us something powerful: you are not alone. Just as God sent Michael to fight for Solomon, he still fights for us. Not because we're perfect, but because his grace is relentless. Solomon's story isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a sacred echo that reaches across the centuries to touch something deep within us. A man chosen by God, gifted with more wisdom than any before or after, still fell. Not because he lacked knowledge, but because he drifted from obedience. His fall reminds us that even the brightest lights can dim when the heart forgets its source. And yet in that moment of darkness, we saw something beautiful. God did not turn away. He sent help. He sent Michael. There's something profoundly human about that. Because like Solomon, we too wrestle with pride, compromise, temptation, and silence in the face of spiritual decay. We build things, we build lives, reputations, even ministries, and yet the demons we thought we had under control begin to rise when we lose sight of the one who gave us strength in the first place. But take heart, because this story tells us something that every soul needs to hear. God doesn't wait for us to be perfect to fight for us. His mercy intervenes even when we don't deserve it. His angels still move. His grace still descends like fire. and Michael's sword is still ready when the shadows press in too close. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by inner battles, if you've ever wondered whether the demons in your life, whatever form they take, are too many, too strong, too loud, remember this: you are not abandoned, you are not alone, and your story isn't over. This is Bible Mysteries Explained, where we go beyond the surface to uncover the deeper truths that shake the heavens and stir the soul. If this journey spoke to something inside you, consider subscribing, sharing, and joining us as we continue revealing what most leave hidden. Until next time, may the God of truth guard your heart, may his angels surround you, and may your light never dim.